Taneytown Planning Committee, please come to order. Would you please stand for the pledge of the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the records reflect that all members are present. Commission members should have received the draft minutes of February 3rd, 2026. Is there any additions or corrections or comments?
None.
For approval? Barry, second by Bill. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carried. Thank you. First thing on the agenda this evening is our water resource element public hearings. So at this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. Andrew, would you give us an introduction on it?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Just real quick, brief overview as was mentioned in the staff report provided to the Commission. The county, as mentioned, the Taneytown Planning Commission only needs to listen to the comments if verbal comments are provided. The county recommends no question and answer or other responses to comments to ensure no one says certain changes will be made before the county has had a chance to review and provide recommendations, and to ensure no misinformation is provided. Rather, decisions or changes will be made after the Planning Commission receives staff recommendations based on any public comments received. The county is asking the city to please provide any written comments as quickly as possible. After this public hearing, the county will compile all comments so they can prepare staff recommendations for any revisions they think may be appropriate based on the comments received. And that is all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Is anyone here this evening for the public hearing? Would you please come forward, state your name? Otherwise, we'll continue on with the meeting for this evening, and we'll close this later time through the...
Oh, sorry, just clarification. You'll close the public hearing later on in the meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
in case there's somebody else wants to come in or something. First item on the agenda, other than the public hearing, is request for preliminary site plan exception for review for McDonald's. BA part we'll cover at later down the agenda. So Andrew, you want to start us out on that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. On November 24th, 2025, the Planning Commission approved the concept site plan for McDonald's. The concept site plan that was received, I have reviewed it, and it is based upon the concept site plan. This meeting is to ask the Planning Commission to please accept the preliminary site plan for review. To expedite the process, city staff is asking the Commission to accept the study that is mentioned in Section 18110D of the City Code at the time of the consideration of preliminary site plan approval. So for city staff recommendation, staff recommends the Planning Commission review the preliminary site plan and vote to: number one, accept the preliminary site plan. Number two, specify a date to consider approval of the preliminary site plan will be following the date when all review agencies have provided final preliminary site plan review and approval. And number three, the Commission will allow the preliminary site plan study to be submitted for review as part of the meeting for the preliminary site plan consideration and possible approval. And Mr. Chair, since there was a little bit of confusion last meeting about this, the reason why that is in there is because when you look at the code mentions for preliminary site plan that the applicant comes before the board, you vote to accept it or not, And then the next meeting, I would prepare a report. So this would be back on the agenda. And then there would be another meeting to determine whether to approve or disapprove or approve with conditions. So in 18110DE, it mentions the zoning administrator will complete a study for the commission to be submitted at the next commission meeting or a time specified by the commission. So with or a time specified by the commission, that's why I have recommendation 2. So specify the date to consider approval of the preliminary site plan will be following the date when all review agencies have provided final preliminary site plan review and approval. Meaning, right now we don't have a date for that, but it will be following when all the county agencies have said, hey, we approve or approve with conditions of the preliminary site plan. So there's not a date for that because we don't know the date yet, but it would just be following, the date would be following those approvals. So
Once you get those, it'll be on the following month's agenda.
Correct, yes, sir.
Gotcha.
But number 3 occurs before number 2?
The commission will allow preliminary site plan to be submitted for review as part of the meeting. And will allow the preliminary.
Site plan study. The study.
Oh, right. So the study would come as part as the next meeting. So you would potentially.
We accept the plan. It gets sent out for review.
Yes.
And then we say it's accepted based on all the reviews. So number 2 occurs after number 3.
I do not think so. I think because specifying the date would be following all reviews and approvals by the county. So
Right.
you would accept.
Following number 3.
Well, the commission, so after, no, because after that meeting, after all the reviews of the county, then I would come before you at the next meeting with the study.
Then with the study or after the study, that's when we give the preliminary
Correct.
approval.
Correct. Potentially.
Not final, but
Correct.
preliminary approval.
Yes, Mr.
So
Chair.
there is one more step after that.
Correct. This is just combining 2 steps from the way I see the language in the code, 18110D, that this can be done instead of an applicant coming back to this board potentially 7 times for one project.
Questions? I have any comments before I ask for a recommendation or a motion? Comments from McDonald's? I'm still looking for a motion for preliminary site plan acceptance for review.
Motion to accept the preliminary site plan for review. With all of the stipulations as listed in parts 2 and 3
That's part
that I
of
don't
the-
want to read all of.
Right, that's part. For second to that.
Yeah, second.
Second by Mr. Myers. Any further discussion? Comments from the floor? All those in favor of the motion for acceptance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carried. Thank you. This was visit 3 of 6. Next item on the agenda is the Board of Appeals case, Tractor Supply Company, review of pending BA case 2026-235, update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On January 15th, a request for public hearing application was submitted to the City of Taneytown. On February 3rd, this commission heard a request for a special exception for the parking, where the board recommended the Board of Appeals approve the parking exception. And then on February 17th, the email message was received by Mr. Rickel, who is in attendance today, mentioning that to Clara, we would like to add a variance for the landscape screening to our BZA request. I am copying Andrew so he can add it to the Planning Commission meeting for February 23rd. Thank you for your assistance. And the variance in this case would be to Section 205-29C of the City Code. It says, where owing to existing conditions, the provisions of screening could create a hardship or is deemed unnecessary, the Board of Appeals may reduce and/or waive the requirements of screening. For this case, the applicant is proposing zero screening around the fenced-in enclosure that the Planning Commission saw last month. And just for recommendations, City Planning staff asks the Planning Commission to please provide any other advisory comments and recommendations for the Board of Appeals to consider during the review of the updated application. And if you have any questions, please let me know, and the applicant is also here to answer questions.
Comments or concerns?
So this is screening around the fenced-in area that we talked about in the parking lot.
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Screening around the fence area where they're going to have materials. That's kind of defeating the
Yeah,
purpose
so,
of having your displays outside if you're going to screen it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Recommendations? I'm looking for a favorable recommendation of it because I think it defeats the purpose.
Yep. Yeah, I guess we're going to make a recommendation to the
Board of
to the board,
Appeals.
and I recommend that we follow through with this.
Second to that?
Second that.
Second by Bill. Other discussion? Comments from the floor? All those in favor of the recommendation? Favorable recommendation. Thank you. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Unanimous?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a hard time not saying approval.
Well, so do I. Well, I count on you guys to keep me in order. Next item, McDonald's, B&A review pending case 2026-237. McDonald's?
Hello again.
All right, Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On February 13, a request for public hearing application was received by the City of Taneytown. The basis for the request is contained in the application. McDonald's is allowed 90 square feet of signage per city code and was approved for the following the following variances from the Board of Zoning Appeals as contained in the staff report. The total signage proposed originally added up to 114.17 square feet and did not include the existing freestanding sign. The new total is 219.7 square feet of proposed signage. City staff is also reviewing the application as well to make sure there are no other variance requests needed in relation to the information before you today. City staff is also in contact, or has been in contact, with the City Special Counsel about the applicability of Section 205-49, which is non-conforming signs, and 205-43E, freestanding signs in commercial and industrial zones. The city attorney will, the City Special Counsel will be at the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, what I have heard. The staff recommendation is City Planning staff asks the Planning Commission to please provide advisory comments and recommendations for the Board of Appeals to consider during their review of the attached application. Mr. Chair, if you have any questions for me, I'm here, and also the applicants from Bowler and
Martin.
yes, sorry, are here as well to answer questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I think it would be nice if the commission here would have some comments from the City Special Counsel, so we could make some upfront recommendations based on his opinion. Is there anything provided?
Not at this point. And Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that some of the concern regarding the freestanding sign, aside from the fact that it was initially omitted in the total square footage calculation, is just that there's some language in the code that speaks to the setback requirement for freestanding signs in the general business district, which this existing sign does not meet. But there's also language in the code regarding non-conforming signs and something about them. Now I don't have it in front of me.
Non-conforming signs basically expire after 5 days from the passage of the article, which is odd.
And we're struggling to try to determine the intent of that line. None
I
of
don't
us were
understand what it
here.
means.
None of us were here when that was originally approved, and it could be. I interpreted it differently than Andrew did, so have reached out to the city special counsel to get his opinion on what that particular line in the code is trying to accomplish.
Well, the freestanding sign that's there now, that's in State Highway's easement, isn't it? Or is it not?
I don't believe so, but not to put the applicant on the spot, but do you know if, I don't believe it is. We looked on the site plan and didn't see anything.
It's on private property.
Pardon me?
It is on the private property.
And not in the easement, right?
If you could also, not to, again, putting you on the spot, but there was talk of a future road widening area there, and that wasn't called out on the exhibit.
I thought there was a 15-foot easement there somewhere, wasn't it?
Right, there was a future widening, I thought.
So is that city easement then?
That would be state highway.
State highway.
It's based on, and apologies, Adam Baker with Rosenberg Martin Greenberg on behalf of McDonald's. I'm looking at the plan that we submitted. It looks like it's set back approximately 10 feet from the road. If the easement is 15 feet, then it's possible that the existing sign is within the easement. And should State Highways ever seek to widen the road to that full 15 feet, McDonald's would have to move the existing sign. Having said that, I'm going on what's shown on the plan. I would ask.
I see the sign here, and I see the 10-foot line here, 10-foot, it says a 10-foot landscaping strip. So,
Again, based on the plan that I'm looking at, it looks like it is within that widening area. It's been there for as long as the restaurant has been there, but to the point, should State Highways ever seek to use that area of the site, McDonald's is going to have to move the sign.
And was the freestanding sign ever included, or actually the sign ordinance came well after McDonald's, right?
I'm not sure.
We couldn't, Andrew, go ahead. I was going to say, we couldn't find any zoning history which spoke to prior variance relief for the sign, so my presumption is that the sign existed before the sign ordinance. Nonetheless, we're asking for variance relief for the sign as part of the additional variance relief we're seeking for overall.
Okay, what I'm leading up to, or trying to get up to, is the total difference of well over 100-some square feet of signage. Is that correct? That you're asking for waiver on, or?
Yeah, that's correct. The square footage, it's a double-faced freestanding pylon sign. It's 105 square feet per side, so roughly 105.5 square feet, so 211 square feet overall. It's an existing sign. It's been there as long as the restaurant has been there, and unfortunately, we omitted it in the sign package from the original variance. Otherwise, it would have been included as part of that variance relief. There's another component. In our initial case, we had assumed that the overall permitted square footage of signage is tied to the lineal building frontage. And we had included the lineal building frontage on East Baltimore Street as well as the lineal building frontage on Genevieve Drive. And even with that, I think we were a foot over. And after doing some math prior to the hearing, we concluded that we did not need that particular variance relief. After taking Genevieve Drive out of the equation, we certainly need it. So not only has the scope of permitted signage on site narrowed because we're no longer counting the length of the building on Genevieve Drive, but we're also throwing into the mix the existing pylon sign. So, that's a long way of saying nothing with respect to the proposed redevelopment that was before this planning commission this fall as part of the zoning request has changed other than the inclusion of the existing pylon sign.
And that existing pylon sign, as labeled sign M, is 105.5 square feet.
Per side.
Regarding the code and freestanding signs, the Planning Commission, according to 20543E, where a site plan is submitted, the Planning Commission shall determine the type and location during the site plan review process and may vary the maximum square footage requirement contained in this subsection. So when McDonald's was originally before the Planning Commission way back when, the commission, assuming the code was as it is now, would have had the opportunity to grant a larger square footage sign as part of that site plan process. But we, of course, do not have records with that kind of detail. So we don't know when the original McDonald's was built. We would typically go off the assumption that it was approved by the Planning Commission. They invoke this, ability to allow a larger sign as part of the site plan process. So we would typically consider that an existing nonconformity. So those are generally allowed to continue, but not to be increased in a manner that increases the nonconformity. However, the piece that Andrew and I were talking about earlier about the 5 days talks about nonconforming signs, and this is 20549. Signs that do not conform to these regulations at the time this article is adopted shall remain nonconforming until the earlier of the following. And then it runs through change of use. The sign becomes unrepairable. The sign is abandoned, or 5 days from the passage of this article. And that's the one that we don't know what that was trying to accomplish. It certainly, you wouldn't think it meant that 5 days after you pass the code, every nonconforming sign in the city had to come down. So is that the intent, or is it that it's no longer considered nonconforming? Or so that's what we've asked the special counsel to look at, because we are frankly stumped.
And because when I was reading it, you go through all those, the first four or whatever, and you're like, okay, standard stuff, and 5 days, so no sign in the city is non-conforming. That just doesn't make sense at all. It's a big question mark in my head.
So the issue is the freestanding sign, period, right? That's basically what they're asking for the waiver for, to include the square footage of that sign
Right.
for the,
Right, and from what I understand, and the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong, that sign's not changing. It's not moving, it's not expanding, it's gonna stay there since it was apparently from the 1980s. And they're just including all the other information that was already approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals and just looping that existing sign, and that's been there for 30-some years, into that calculation to make sure that when somebody goes back maybe in 20 years from now, they can see this was done legally from the Board of Zoning Appeals. That's all this is, to try to bring in that sign so the whole calculation makes sense for the total variance.
use the term 20 years. So within 20 years, 10 years, if they have to replace that sign, they got to bring it back for a permit to do that sign change, how is that going to reflect on the decision that the Board of Appeals may make one way or the other, 10, 20 years from now, on the decision we're making tonight?
If you have,
Sorry, go.
I mean, I'm thinking.
I would suggest that if the sign is the same square footage or smaller, that it would be permitted under, let's assume that we obtain approval from the zoning board, that it would be permitted. If it was larger or in a different location, then we'd probably have to come back and get additional variance relief.
Jim, comment? Because you know we have,
I think that the variance would be for the site for that particular property based on the square footage. So assuming that, a replacement sign wasn't enlarging the square footage, I think that having record of this from the Board of Appeals approval would cover a future replacement sign.
Because the
Within the
As
5
long as it didn't
days,
get any
right.
bigger.
And because of variance, because from what I understand, per state law, a variance runs with the land, because a variance would show that there's a particular hardship with this piece of property that would require a modification in the zoning ordinance, so the variance would stay with the property. And of course, I'm not an attorney, but that's from what I've understood.
but that's why I said at the beginning, it'd been nice to hear something from the city special counsel, his thoughts of this, or their thoughts. But for us tonight, we can only base our comments on what we know in front of us. So with that, does anybody have any comments?
I do have one more question, just because I want to make sure that we're being precise in everything. Between the staff report and the petition, we've got different square footage numbers.
Yeah.
The petition lists 357, which seems like that would be in line with the pair of 105s, plus the other assorted signage. And in the staff report, it only goes up to a total of 219.
I know what you mean, Commissioner Mead, and with the variance, would be the least amount of relief needed. And I guess to go back through with the applicant, I know Bowler and I have went through this before, but all the signage that I have here adds up in my Excel document to 219.7 square feet. So really, really quick, sorry to put you guys on the spot, but if you have the signage document open, and I believe you all have the same, sign A, there's 2 sign A's, both 8.2 square feet. Sign B's, there's 2 sign B's, both 14 square feet. There's 1 sign C, which is 2.3 square feet, 1 sign D, which is 2.3 square feet, 2 sign E's, which are 2.6 square feet, 2 sign F's, which are 10, 2 sign G's, which are 20. Sign H, I, J, K, and L are private directional signs. According to 205-54C of the city code, would not require, I don't know the exact language, but they would be exempt. And then sign M, which is the freestanding sign, the existing freestanding sign is 105.5, which is 219.7 square feet total.
Except you missed a 105
The 105, that's sign M.
times 2.
Oh, yes, that's, okay, there we go.
Like I said, I just want to make sure that we're being precise on everything. So it looks like the 357 is much, that's in the request is much closer to the number that it actually needs to be.
357 square feet?
Yes. That's what's listed in the actual zoning petition.
And for this now, I'm getting, and thank you, Commissioner Mead. Let me just pull this down. So now my total is 325.2 square feet.
I got the same thing, just counting up, and so we're trying to see where we got 357 from. Can't promise I can find it, but we will certainly clear that up before the hearing.
So 325.2 square feet.
Overall signage, yeah.
Yes. And I don't know if you're including H, I, J, K, and L.
Not in the overall square footage, no.
Okay.
Yeah, but that might account for the delta
That's how we got
in
to
our math.
250. Okay, so that is how 357 is if you include the traffic directional signage, that's how you get to 357. But if that is exempt from this
And let me
requirement, then.
pull up the exact language, 20554C.
Private directional signs, on-site signs directing traffic movement onto a premises or within a premises not exceeding 6 square feet in area for each sign are exempt from the provisions of this article, except for construction and safety regulations. So they would not factor into the total square footage.
Because, and
They're under
they're
6
all
feet.
under 6, right?
So actually, there is one that is more than 6, sign H, which was included in our previous variance request, which is 8.6. So, right, so if it's over 6 square feet, does that mean it then counted as part of the overall calculation?
Hold on one second. Let me pull up what was submitted.
I would say if it's over 6 square feet, it wouldn't be part of the exemption.
So the variance was granted for that sign in itself, it still gets added to the total.
I think in this scenario, because we're kind of revisiting the overall
Capture it all.
number.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
So that really doesn't affect our recommendation here, but they'll need to know that for.
We definitely want to nail this down before the hearing this time and not be
The
doing this
recommendation
during the
should
hearing.
be pending the corrected square footage of signage.
Actually, no, not from us, because that's not the kind of recommendation we're making. We're making either a favorable or non-favorable or no recommendation.
Then
We're not
it-
putting,
then
but we can't put a specific on that,
Okay.
but we can make a,
can't we recommend that
but
they
we can
update
we can make that as a comment to be passed on to the Board of Appeals. You follow me?
No.
So,
I don't
so
see why
is
we
the,
can't make a I don't see why we can't make a recommendation to, make a favorable recommendation pending update of the
Oh,
documentation.
that we can, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's what it said.
But not the specific of it,
Yeah,
because we don't know what specific it is.
well, yeah.
That's why, yeah.
We
Well,
don't
we
know
could say an update to the square footage of the signage.
if it's 327 or 357.
Yeah, well, yeah, don't put a number on, you just want to update the square footage of the signage.
Right,
That would be why I used the language that I did.
and make that a motion, or recommendation, sorry, make that a recommendation to the Board of Appeals.
I move to recommend a favorable recommendation for this Board of Appeals case pending the new and corrected square footage of signage.
Second.
Other discussion? Comments from the floor? All those in favor of that recommendation? I'm not going to repeat it. Signify by
Was there a
saying
second?
aye.
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 Opposed, nay?
Yes.
Carried. Jim, you had a
Who
comment? or
seconded that?
or Andrew? Pardon me?
who was the second?
Mars made the second.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't hear no second, did
He did.
Did he make a second?
That's fine.
So we're good on that.
I don't get paid extra. for
Thank
that,
you all.
so it Can be anybody.
And that is March 17th, correct?
Yes.
Thank you all. Be in touch.
Next item on the agenda is 109 Sherman Way Deck, review of pending BA case 2026-238. Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On February 17th, the city received a request for the public hearing. The basis for the request is contained in the attached application provided to you all. This is a little bit different because the actual dimensional requirements for this property aren't what is in the city code. It was what was approved as part of the site plan review process. So it was the sewer bearing coordinate chart and typical lot layout sheet, which is sheet 30 of 41 for the Village at Meads Crossing Phase 2. The rear yard minimum that was approved is 20 feet. The applicant is proposing 11 feet between the deck and the property line. The city special counsel prepared a memo how this can legally comply with the dimensional requirements, because dimensional requirements, it does not explicitly say that in the city code, but per the memo, the special counsel mentioned that Taneytown adopted state law before that information was in state law, and plus area requirements would also qualify with dimensional requirements. The recommendation, city planning staff asks the planning commission to please provide advisory comments and recommendations for the Board of Zoning Appeals to consider during the review of the attached application. And if you have any questions, please let me know, and it does not look like the applicant is here.
Yes, so is the rear yard minimum supposed to be 20 feet?
Yes,
In our code, it doesn't say 20 feet.
correct.
So why is it 20 feet at that house again?
Because it was approved during the site plan, and the actual dimensional requirements are as part of what was, it's on the site
It
plan.
was approved when we did Meads Crossing.
Yes, yes.
Community Village also has a table of area and bulk that's different than the standard setbacks within zoning districts.
I think it still said 25 feet.
So, and their development rights and responsibilities agreement gave them a number of custom areas and setbacks and things of that nature.
Okay, yep.
And I thought at that time, didn't we ask and didn't they agree that there would be room in the back for a deck without coming before the B&A?
Well, depends on how big your deck is, I guess.
I guess you're right there. You know, if they put in 12 by 8 instead of a 12 by 10.
There was discussion focused largely on townhouse lots, and before the homes were built, the developer applied for I'll call it a bulk variance, where they listed a series of lots that had smaller than typical, even for Meads, rear yard setbacks, so that every townhouse would have the ability to construct a deck of a certain depth, because some of the townhome lots were very small and would have prohibited construction of a deck. So there was conversation specific to townhomes that, because the townhomes were being designed with egress from the second floor, from the main floor of the unit, that everyone be allowed to have a deck and not just like a little landing. So your recollection is on target.
Okay.
So I just want to point out to the planning commission that it's interesting that we allow these smaller, more compact lots. And so far, we've already changed our minds and added sheds to it, and now we're going to consider adding another change to it because we have these tiny lots. Just a comment for the boys.
And that's what this process is for.
Right.
That's why they can seek a variance when there's something unique about the property that makes it difficult to do something that typically you'd be able to do in the district.
The first case before us and B&A for that Sherman Way area.
I know we have granted variances for at least one deck in Meads Crossing. I don't know offhand if we have done one on Sherman Way or not, but we have done at least one, I believe more than one, in Meads Crossing.
About 3 houses down from 109, there is a deck. How do we allow that? Or I just don't want to allow one and not the other.
Right.
And I don't have the list of all the Board of Appeals cases in front of me to be able to speak to whether or not that obtained a variance.
About 3 houses down from 109. There's a
Yeah,
deck.
and I don't have a plat of that particular property to be able to speak to what the setback is on their deck.
Just have a question for you. You made that term bulk variances. How many were done out there? I'm just curious.
For the townhomes, I want to say it was maybe 15 lots.
Whole section there where they were in the back.
There, yeah,
That was a big
yeah.
conversation here when
Okay.
they allowed room for that. Which we gave approval.
Right, the board did grant that variance for those townhouse lots, yes.
Comments? While we're waiting, any comments from the floor?
So when, to me, a 12-foot deck is reasonable. I mean, if you make it like 10 foot, 8 foot, you put your picnic table out there, you can't do anything. So to me, I think it's reasonable. In that particular house that we looked at, the trail, there's a walking trail that's behind it. So it's really not infringing on the neighbor or anything like that. So the neighbor behind them, and that's the side of their house too, so it's probably, if it doesn't bother that particular neighbor, then it's probably okay in my mind. But my concern is that as soon as we do this, then the next guy's gonna want it, the next guy's gonna want it, the next guy's gonna want it. So that's my biggest concern. But in this particular spot, it seems okay, but I'd like to know what the other ones were. Did the other guy meet the requirements, or?
Same situation.
Yeah, I was
I mean,
gonna-
they're not backing up one house to the next.
But we're not going to be able to stop,
Yeah.
case by case, right?
Right, and the planning commission just provides the recommendation. The board would actually
Yeah.
review and grant the variance. They have the power to do that.
Our recommendation. It's kind of open space.
Yeah.
There is,
So I'll make a recommendation, we proceed with a favorable, I'll make a, let's see,
Favorable.
make a recommendation that we provide favorable guidance. Is that it?
that's good.
I
I
forgot
suppose
the
the words
right
favorable was in
Yeah,
there, that's all I'm
yeah.
looking for. Is there a second to that?
I second that.
Second by Bill. Other discussion? All those in favor of that motion for a favorable recommendation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Unanimous. Thank you. Write that down as a term and keep Silver right. All right.
Sorry, and walls. And walls.
Okay.
Ordinance and agreements for review. Talking about fences and walls update.
So there's nothing has changed with this one since the last time you had the opportunity to comment on it. However, the mayor and council did not meet in January, which is when the public hearing for this ordinance would have been scheduled. And if an ordinance is not passed within 70 days of its introduction, it has to be reintroduced. So this ordinance wasn't passed within 70 days, so it was reintroduced. It was scheduled for a public hearing next Wednesday night, but mayor and council have decided to have a combined meeting this month and just meet on the Monday night. So we'll be rescheduling that hearing for April. It'll still fall within the 70 days barely, so we're hoping to get this one finally approved in April. It's been languishing in the process for longer than we would like. But again, the ordinance hasn't changed since you saw it before.
None.
I don't see it on the agenda, and I'm not sure if this is the place to bring it in or not. Where do we stand with our street requirements and stuff, because I understand at the last council meeting, there was conversation, it looks like they're getting kind of itchy on moving forward with it without coming before us.
And we'll talk about that under other.
Under other?
Yep, other business.
Thank you.
Mr.
Want to
Chair,
make sure
would-
we have the opportunity to
before we get into Andrew's report, would this be a opportune time perhaps to close the public hearing so we don't forget that piece of business?
didn't really close it, so I guess it's still open. So any comments or any
On the water resources.
water resources? The only comment I had is more for in-house, our staff, that the two comments or the two things on the back 2 pages that it gets included in our comprehensive plan update. And that's about the average gallons or whatever's required. I think it was on 274, 273, something like that. That gets included with our master plan.
So that's really more a comment for our comprehensive
Right.
plan than for the water resources element. Okay.
So not hearing any more, I'm declaring the public hearing for the water resource elements to be closed. Thanks for all the input.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Andrew, you want to go over your report?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Planning Department continues to review preliminary site plan submissions for VAPCO's parking lot expansion since this was designated as a priority project by the Board of County Commissioners. We are reviewing the site plan, the final site plan, and has had the Taneytown Supply. We had some questions and working with them to finalize. For plan amendments, for amendments of VAPCO, I mentioned this to you, Mr. Chair, and you concurred. 5 trees have been slightly moved from what was originally approved by the Planning Commission on the eastern side of the property. They were shifted stemming from the proposed sidewalk connection for the site plan that is currently in the preliminary plan review process. The chair and I are in agreement. This would be a minor red line revision and can be approved administratively via 18116 of the city code. There's only five trees that are being slightly moved by a couple feet. For comprehensive plan, as you all know, we're reviewing that right now. The Planning Commission mentioned review the first 100 pages. Then when we convene in March to have comments to the consultant at that time. I'll get in touch with you about a week or 2 ahead of time. If everybody can, as mentioned in that last meeting, email me your comments so I can easily put it together. All of you should have received, I think it was the day after maybe, I had a little Word document so everybody can put that on and I can just copy, paste, have it all together so I can send that in a consistent format to the planning consultant. For zoning code violations, as many of you have probably could assume, in February, the department city staff was very busy issuing sidewalk clearing reminders. Out of those, there were approximately 60 that were issued, and staff circled back to each of those to make sure compliance had been resolved, that all issues were resolved. And if anybody's watching, please remember to clean your sidewalks from snowstorms. Also, other ADA discussion with the county. County ADA, we met with them a couple weeks ago. County ADA mentioned that they do not, I guess the big thing, they do not need to review private single-family homes for ADA compliance. They only need to review ADA compliance for residential buildings that are over 3 dwelling units. Sidewalks need to be 5 feet in width when it's adjacent to a parking area, or if there are wheel stops, they can be 3 feet. They use, from what I gathered, the 2010 ADA manual. County, and we defer to them because county ADA staff are the ADA professionals, and city staff will defer to them for their expertise that they apply throughout Carroll County. And that is all I have, Mr. Chair. And if anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Is that a lawyer answering that question or just a regular
That,
person?
that is the county staff who reviews for ADA compliance.
So the answer is no, it wasn't an attorney answering that.
Right, but they're the experts and we defer to them.
That's a large word. Okay.
All right.
Your comments with the ADA, will that be in the minutes? When you type
Yes,
up?
yes, I
Okay,
can put
good.
them in there.
Please, thanks.
Not a problem.
All right. Active projects?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just as you know, McDonald's is going through their preliminary site plan process, going to Board of Zoning Appeals. Taco Bell, we're still waiting to hear back from them for their submittal. Sorry, Dan, let me get closer. Their submittal of their preliminary site plan. Evapco, they are in the process. You accepted their preliminary site plan last month. Storage today, haven't heard anything. Taneytown Supply, like I mentioned, we're waiting their submission, their updated submission of their final site plan. Memorial Park expansion, that's going back and forth between the city consultant, I believe, and city staff. And really nothing else has changed with Mountain Brook, Garnet Ridge, and that's really all I have, Mr. Chair, for this month.
Moving on to the construction phase projects. There's some on there that's been on 5 to 6 years. I'd like to ask the city staff to do whatever's necessary to get the ones that's been on there that length of time taken care
Okay.
of, whatever is required.
Yep, sounds good.
5 to 6 years on a project that's not, we need to move on.
Okay, sounds good.
County update. Tiffany. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Commission, staff. Thanks for having me here tonight. So our updates, as you know, we're going over the comprehensive plan. So our Planning Commission is now hearing the recommendations that came out of the 3 work groups that we had going last year, which were the Ag Work Group, the Economic Development Work Group, and the Housing Study Work Group. So they're going through those recommendations one by one to see if they want to move forward with those. So we'll be going over that for the next couple months. We also have some text amendments in the works right now, and those are for the billboards, which I've brought before you before, and that's going to for a public information session on the 5th of March that we're going to have in Finksburg, and there might be another one in Hampstead, because those are the areas that are most affected by the billboard amendment. Then we also have a text amendment coming forth for potential removal of the second-story residential on what we call planned commercial centers, which is basically our current mixed use. There's no guidelines for what that needs to look like or bulk requirements. They're very minimal, and so there's just been some concerns over what the development of those has looked like. So they're just trying to remove it right now, and we'll go forward with that through the master plan process and hopefully address mixed use in the future for that. And we have, thank you for the water resource element hearing that you had tonight. And for water sewer, the fall amendment was approved or adopted by the county commissioners on February 19th. So that has gone to MDE for approval. And the county has received an extension from the department, the Maryland Department of the Environment, for the triennial update. So that's been postponed to 2027. We're having a little bit of a staff shortage over there at the county. And then the annual report, hope to have, thank you so much for submitting your annual report last month, and we're hope to have a preview of that, of the draft in May for you to review. We also have the Department of Planning and Land Management is working with Michael Baker for support to review and evaluate the relationship between the adopted master plans and the county's current zoning and site regulations. So they'll be reviewing that for consistency and any improvements that we can make for that, for those two to be more consistent with each other. And we also have a deferral, another deferral added to ours, which sounds a lot probably very familiar here, for the data processing centers, and that's a deferral for 12 months, so we can get some of that in the zoning ordinance to address the data centers. right now is everything that I have for tonight. Any questions about?
Update on the solar panels for the west end of town that's in the county?
Solar panels?
Panels,
Like
farm
a
that's going in?
project that's
Yeah.
coming through?
I understand there's one at the west end of town.
We got an updated site, I don't think it was an updated site plan. It was just, I believe, and don't quote me on this, it was an updated packet of information, might have been on Friday. Yeah, it was not, from what my recollection, it wasn't a site plan, it was just information.
Baptist Road.
Across the river out there?
It's on this side of the river, right on the other side of the old Havilah.
It would be outside
Baptist Road.
city limits.
Well, it's on this side.
Yeah, we saw something, yeah.
And we have seen it, but the same as with city staff, we've only seen it as it's coming through the Maryland process, like the review process. We haven't seen it that I'm aware of as a site plan yet either.
From
Have you
what
seen it
we
as a-
saw, it looked like a site plan. It was on the 24 by 36 pages, and the planning commission, I believe, got all those 2 months ago or something like that. Yeah.
I just remember, and it's off the top of my head, I just remember seeing it as the commission asks for like, almost like a preliminary review, and we saw it at that point, but I don't remember seeing a submittal to the county. Do you remember? Was it like an actual project? I'll get you an
I
update.
can't remember.
And I'll send it to.
That's good, yeah.
To staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like to keep tabs on what's coming close to town.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a question. Does the county deferral of data centers supersede the deferral of data centers that we're about to pass?
Not at all, no.
Okay.
Because, yes, yeah, you'll do yours and we'll do ours, and they'll be in
Okay.
different jurisdictions.
Oh, no problem. I didn't know if it was a superseding thing or whether it was
Right, yeah.
everywhere else but
absolutely.
us.
Absolutely, it's a great question, yeah, but no, it'll
Okay.
be separate.
Questions? All right. Thank you. Old business, discussion of Taneytown Community Comprehensive Plan update. Had a chance to at least turn over the first couple pages.
First couple pages.
All right. Any comments or any concerns at this point, other than it's going to take time? Andrew, any comments?
I don't think any comments on the content, just the formatting. I hate it when they kind of, I forget what the formatting is called, but the spacing between the words is different. So the couple of the lines, it's like all letters. You can't even see the space.
Oh, I know what you mean, Commissioner Myers.
I forget what that's called, but
Justification.
yeah.
But I've been reading it, and I have some comments, and I'll talk to the city manager about those comments.
Cool.
Anything else? Okay, other business. Evapco parking lot, revised landscape, you've already
Yep,
mentioned
and
that.
I apologize, I should have waited until this, but it was
All
already
right.
covered in my report.
All right. And then other is what I'm waiting to hear.
For other, I have here, and Mr. Chair, I know you mentioned this to me a couple days ago. Here are the standard city roadway specs that the CDM Smith has provided, and let me hand them out for all of you to read or to review.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, you have comments?
Just a couple of quick highlights on those. So you'll see there are a couple local streets. One is a width that would allow parking on both sides. One is a width that's narrower by, I believe, 8 feet that would be targeted for parking on one side. There is an alley section that we currently don't have that would be for use say for if the Sewell Farm builds as the concept plan that we saw way back when, actually did come to fruition and there were some rear-loaded garages, you would have a 20-foot alley, open section road. Something you might want to note is the plates for the commercial industrial road section. There's one with a straight curb and one with a roll curb. You might note that the blacktop width is different between the two, but the roadway is considered the same. So that kind of gets into what we've discussed a lot as to whether the gutter pan is considered part of the road surface or not. So the gutter pan is 18 inches wide. So when you have that on each side, it equates to 3 feet of drivable area. Now I know typically you don't drive in the gutter pan, but that would be where the vehicles would be parked. So if you don't park within 12 inches of the curb, you're in violation of parking code. So, you're basically mandated to park, on that concrete strip to be within 12 inches of the curb. So, so it is considered part of the, the drivable surface. So this is in draft form. The mayor and council have had the opportunity to review the majority of the manual, but we've been kind of holding off on approval to just try to refine the different street widths and have a plate for the various dimensions that we currently don't have. We also, Andrew included in there for you a spec for a speed table. We may end up doing a spec for a raised crosswalk, which would be 6 inches high, that might be used in different circumstances than the speed table, which would be, everyone else around us seems to use a 4-inch height. So we're really trying to hit that sweet spot of slowing vehicles down or ensuring vehicles, are not speeding through neighborhoods, but also we don't want to build something that's more likely to either create excessive noise when people go over it or potentially damage someone's vehicle when they're not driving in an unsafe manner. So we may, the 6-inch height is basically what we have on Westview Drive. I've heard favorable comments from residents along there, but they are quite pronounced, and a low vehicle could have some problems on those. The 4-inch ones that are on Amicus Street and Water Run Street have gotten mixed comments. Some people think they're effective. The latest speed survey shows that speeds are not excessive since they've been installed. I think average speeds are roughly 25 miles an hour. Now, it is posted at 20, so
20.
The average speed is over the posted limit. But 25 is pretty much the design speed for those speed tables, I guess. So we're trying to figure that out, and we might end up incorporating both in the manual so that, where we have an instance for an actual raised crosswalk, we do the 6-inch tall one. Maybe where we have a crossing at a somewhat major street, or where we expect it's going to be a primary route towards the school or something like that, we might require that raised crosswalk rather than a speed table. So we're still trying to figure out the traffic calming, and also that kind of plays back to the street widths also. So the mayor and council, are trying to slow traffic throughout the community. They get a lot of complaints about vehicles speeding through residential neighborhoods. So the street widths and the traffic calming all play into that. So if we build, nice wide flat streets, people tend to drive more quickly on them. So it's really a balancing act for them. And of course, also the wider street with parking on both sides represents about a 25% cost increase for the city to maintain that over time, and also about a 25%, greater impact on stormwater management facilities. So, we'll need to balance all that going forward as we review future developments and things, but trying to get it nailed down in the spec manual so you have option, A, B, or C. and that it's going to match what's in the manual rather than it be negotiated project by project.
So maybe on next month's agenda, it gives everybody a chance to look at it for a month and then bring comments back next month.
Yep. So I think this is great to do this here.
Yep.
Are the widths, are they based on any kind of standard?
I believe they are. I'm not going to profess to be a traffic expert by any means, but I believe CDM Smith's traffic group did weigh in on these.
I'd be curious to know what standard they're meeting.
I think I think the slopes and the travel lane widths and parking widths are from some highway design manual, but I really can't speak to it.
I would hope they are. Then I noticed on the first page, it's got edge of property. What does that signify?
That would be probably the limit of the right-of-way also. So where the right-of-way ends is typically also the property boundary of the adjacent property.
So that's the edge of property of the homeowner? So you get to park on my property?
Which plate are you looking at?
Very first
page.
First page, top
Where it
left
says
corner.
easement?
Top left.
Yeah. No, it says edge of property.
Right.
It's also inconsistent with 19 TA.
Yeah, and that is something that we'll have to look at, because typically, and with the new, and I didn't include it in there, but the old mountable curb is a curved surface, and the new standard is going to be what's out in Meads Crossing, where it's more angular. And historically, most communities, the property boundary has been on the, I'll say the convex portion of the curb. So it's a little harder to consistently identify where a property is, because it's the actual line is on a radius, on a curve of the curb. Whereas with the new curb spec, it will be like along a straight line that's more defined. But typically, the homeowner doesn't own the gutter pan, typically.
And in all the rest of the plates, they don't, so that's an inconsistency with the first
Right.
one.
So we do need to revise that one. So there are some communities in the city where the property does extend out to, I think, the blacktop in some instances, or into the gutter pan, which is certainly not what we prefer. So we'll
Make our
modify
comments
that.
for next, and then bring them back next month, our comments on all of these. Good.
Thank you for calling that to our attention.
Anything else on our other?
Yes, just one more item. These are the minutes. Sorry. These are the minutes from September 29th, 2025. And in those, when we were looking for Taneytown Supply, just for the record of when that was actually approved by the commission, I was going through, I couldn't find it. Looking at I found these minutes where this commission talked about that project. And the commission actually approved the preliminary site plan. The minutes did not mention that. So I have here highlighted, and I'll give this all to you, with the addition to those minutes, and we think that this can just be done administratively, and if the planning commission wishes to put this on the agenda for next month and vote on them, totally your call. But from the way we look at it, this is just making an edit, because I went back to the video and watched it, and I have here added, Commissioner Mead made a motion to approve the preliminary site plan for Taneytown Supply, seconded by Commissioner Eisenberg. The motion passed 5-0. So this is the information I got right off the video. I'll give this to you for your records. If you would like to have this come back to be part of the agenda, up to you, but this is what was actually said and recorded in that meeting, the video that is on YouTube that anybody on the planet can view.
What was that date again?
September.
September 29th, 2025.
So I'm thinking, Jim, what action?
I would like to have a motion and vote to approve the minutes as amended. Now, if you would feel more comfortable waiting until that's an actual agenda item, we can do that next month. If
I'd
you're
like to.
comfortable doing it tonight, we can do it because, as we said, it is more of an administrative matter. But again, we certainly can wait and put it on the agenda for next month.
Yeah, I'd rather have it on the agenda.
Okay.
And then we can do it.
No, Mr. Chair.
Jim, you have anything?
No, sir.
Members have any comments?
Yes, I do. I like a definition of an expert. Being how we're not using attorneys anymore, what is an expert?
Well, we spoke with the experts who are hired by Carroll County government to review for ADA compliance.
Okay, well, what is an expert? What's their background? What experience they have?
I don't know, I didn't hire them.
Is that their title, expert, ADA expert? Is that their title or what?
I
Or
can
you
get,
giving them that title?
I can give you their official title that Carroll County government gave them, but we use them. From my understanding, all the other municipal governments use them. That's who we use.
Yeah. It doesn't make it right. I'm just curious what the definition is. Okay.
Okay, I think we've heard. Okay. Anybody, any comments from the floor? Tiffany?
I want to say, Andrew was correct that it was Taneytown Solar, or Taneytown Pike Solar did come through with the site plan in November and went to TRC at the end of November as well. So I'll see what else I can find out as far as what reviews, what agencies have reviewed it and what's available there, and I'll send it to staff and
Thank you.
information I find.
Yeah, we appreciate being informed on what's happening around town. and
Absolutely.
Stay on top of it. Thank you. Not hearing anything else. Looks like our comp meeting is on the 24th of March. Correct me if I'm wrong. And our next planning zoning is the 30th. Is that correct? Or is that a holiday?
1 second, Mr. Chair, sorry.
Yeah, I have
March 24th, you are correct, and
March the 30th.
yes, sir.
Right.
So the 24th is when we're going to.
We'll talk about the first 100 pages.
Ooh. Keep snowing. I'm
Means
out
you're going to
of
be
there
up
now.
late on the 23rd.
Damn, hopefully.
All right.
Hopefully not.
I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion.
Made by Bill, second by,
Second.
who seconded that? Second by Myers. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carried. Thanks again, everyone.